Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I got a comment on my shirt that I wore yesterday. So I figured I'll wear a different one. And no, it's not going to be a thing because I don't have a bunch of these shirts. I just have a few, so I pretty much already exhausted them. I usually just get like plain shirts, stuff like that. Anyways, for all of my people from the Philippines, magandang umaga, kumusta na, ingat lagi, mabuting pagbati. Appreciate you guys very much. Maraming salamat, kaibigan, for coming by and taking a look at my stuff real quick. And for all of my people that are from Argentina or who do speak Spanish, buenos dias, ¿cómo está? You know, bienvenidos a mi channel. Muchas gracias para ver mi video. Appreciate it very much, all my people. Yeah, so I have the round 13 game for you between Alan Pichot and Wesley. So it's a pretty interesting game. So you know, if you guys are ready to go, I'm ready to go. Let's take a look, see what we have for the game. All right, so we got E4, E6, we got D4, D5. As I always say, pretty much 90% of the French defense games are going to go in this fashion, unless you're doing like some crazy Gambit type stuff, which is out there. We got knight coming to C3, bishop to B4, and we have E5. So we have the French defense Winawer, and it is the advanced variation. So we have C5, we got A3, bishop takes C3, pawn takes C3, knight comes to E7, we have queen to G4. We have pretty book play so far, and after your king comes to F8, you have many different options in this position. I mean, you have bishop to D3s, you know, you have bishops to E2, queen can come to F4, knight can come to F3, but we do see knight to H3. Knight to H3 is a move. It is a pretty rarely played move. I think it's only been played like once or twice. It's definitely not in the top, but you know, it still gives white and black a pretty equal game. You know, it's pretty even, it's pretty dead even in this position here. So white has given up, you know, a little bit of their advantage, but it's nothing crazy. So we got knight B to C6, and this actually is the novelty of the game. Like I always say, it's kind of crazy when you see like principal developing moves be the novelty, because knight B to C6 just seems so natural to play. So we got bishop to D3. The queen comes to A5. We have bishop to D2. So everything's pretty normal right now. You know, everything is everything, as they say. So we have pawn takes D4, pawn takes D4. We got queen to A4. And we have castles. We get to the first kind of dicey point in the game, and we see castles by white, which does look like it gives away a pawn. And it actually kind of does. But it just kind of depends on, as white, how you handle it, giving away the pawn. We got queen taking D4, and then from Alan Pichot, we see knight to F4. Now, backing up, white did have the ability to go queen takes D4 here, and then after knight takes D4, you see A4, trying to put this bishop on this diagonal, taking advantage of the fact that king is in the center. And that's pretty much what you're dealing with when you do give up a pawn. You want to play very actively. Yes, you are up a pawn as black, but you do have some concerns as far as your king safety goes. So white is looking to try to take advantage of that. So after something like F6, you take on F6. You would take on F6 as black. You got bishop to C3. Of course, X-raying through this knight, trying to grab this pawn, but we do see knight E to C6 and knight coming to F4. So like I said, I mean, you know, black is up a pawn here, but their king is not the safest. So that's definitely something that you're trying to take advantage of. But going back, like I said, we did see knight to F4, and then we see H5. Just trying to kick the queen a little bit. The queen comes to G3. We see H4, and then we see queen to H3. Now, you do have two different really strong moves in this position. And I think a lot of you guys see what you can do. You're basically looking at a free pawn here on E5. And it's just a matter of like how you want to take it back, or how you want to take it initially. You can do it pretty much knight takes, or you could do queen takes. What we saw in the game was knight takes E5. Knight takes E5 is legitimate. You know, you are placing a nice little attack on this bishop on D3. You know, and so, I mean, you're just looking good. I mean, the knight can come here or even come here, stuff like that. So that definitely was one of the top moves to do. Something that's actually a little bit better is actually to take with the queen. And then after the queen would come to g4, you see queen to d6. And you guys can see that, you know, this pawn, the biggest crazy thing in the position is the fact that you have this nice pawn center, pawn chain going on. You do have a possible discovery here. As you guys can see, this opens up the bishop on the queen. So you do have a lot of threats as black in this position. So it was just maybe something slightly better. But knight taking e5 definitely was legit. You pretty much are able to take that pawn back, like I said. So you just kind of pick which way you want to do it. Now you have bishop to e3. You got queen to a4. And then you have bishop down to e2. You have knight 5 to c6. You have bishop to g4. Knight comes to e5, and then you have rook f to e1. And what I decided I would do in this position is actually take you down a sideline, a possible variation, because I thought that the way that you guys would look and try to see if you can guess a move or what you would do to get out of a situation was very instructive. So this is not what was played in the game, but going off on this sideline with me real quick. If we just so happen to see, let me see, not that move, after knight rook f to e1, if we were to see knight taking g4, we were to see queen taking g4, and then we were to see e5, similar to kind of like the discovery I was talking about before. Just explaining a couple things about this position is you have pushed this pawn to e5. You are now with this bishop attacking the queen. You are also attacking this knight with this pawn, and the queen is actually pinning this knight to the queen laterally. So it seems like you have some problems and stuff in the situation. So if you guys want to pause the video and in lieu of this position, you know, see what you would do to try to get out of this situation as white, go ahead and do so real quick. Okay, so I have confidence that a lot of you guys actually would get this, and it is a very nice tactic, and it is actually a discovered attack. What you should be thinking in the position is the fact that this queen is undefended. And if you notice the queen is undefended, you do realize that you do have, number one, the queen is undefended, and then also this king is actually checkable on one of these two squares. So you actually can either go rook, knight to e6 with check or knight to g6 with check, and you will actually be picking up this queen for free. So it's a pretty common theme, you know, a discovered attack. So after the knight will go here, let's say, you know, something, you know, you can move the king or take with the bishop or something. Queen is going to be dropping. So if you did guess knight to g6 with check or knight to e6 with check, you would be definitely absolutely right. And congratulations for noticing a discovered attack. It's not probably the easiest thing to see. You know, when you have some training and you have like, you know, you have some experience dealing with discovered attacks, whether you've been the victim of or you have given them, they become a lot easier to see. So that's definitely a nice little tactic in there. But I noticed this a couple of moves ago. It's definitely a dream case scenario because clearly neither player is going to go that route. So it's kind of wishful, but I thought it was kind of instructive. So congratulations if you did see the discovered attack. But what we saw in the game was rook f to e1, and we saw king to g8. Wesley So is recognizing that that is a tactic in the position, and he sidesteps it and prepares to attack the bishop without all those tactics. So we did see bishop down to d2. Now, something else that is live in the situation that Alan Pichot does kind of get to is the fact that now this knight on this square is undefended. So if we do have a situation after knight takes g4, queen takes g4, where you do try to push pawn here, you can simply just back up the queen or even back up the queen this way, and you're not going to be taking the knight for free because you're going to be taking this knight. So that is a little bit of a difference in the situation. So we do see queen takes g4, but Wesley So does go ahead and snap off that pawn. And as you guys can see, Alan Pichot is getting dangerously low on pawns. He actually now has 4 pawns to 7, and that is pretty much being down an entire piece positionally. So we see the queen coming to e2. The knight comes to c6. We see knight down to d3. We have h3. And this is a really beautiful move because, you know, as you guys can see, You know, this king doesn't have a lot of protection around him, and what better way to start opening some lines, especially for this rook. You want to use this rook a little bit, is to push h3. And then the problem is, you know, after you push this, like right here, you're having some issues on this g2 square. So, you know, or you're damaging your structure, or, you know, there's so many different, you know, scenarios that would come up as white. So after we see h3, we see rook a to c1, throwing a little intermezzo in there. We got queen to a4. We have knight coming to e5, trying to liberate your pieces somewhat. We see pawn taking g2, and then we see rook to c3, because we're planning to, you know, laterally defend a checkmate situation after the queen swings over and stuff like that, with this rook. Not that, of course, that was a misclick. And so something else that was possible instead of rook to c3 was actually knight taking c6, and then we're not worried about the queen swinging over because we do have queen to e5 defending. So we are good to go. But after we see rook to c3, we do see the queen swing over to h4. We got h3. The queen comes to h5, and you know, really wanting to trade. And this is going to benefit black so much if white trades. So we see knight taking c6, pawn taking c6. We see queen to e3, avoiding the trade, but then also making this rook possible to move, and also defending this pawn. So we have bishop to a6. We got king taking g2, bishop coming to c4, and this is really annoying that this bishop is now plugging this you know, this backward pawn up. But like I always say, whenever you see a weakness in your position, the first thing you want to be trying to look at is how you can try to protect that weakness, or just get rid of it. And so this is definitely something that protects very well. So we see queen over to g3. We have d4, and then we see rook takes c4, and then we see queen to d5 with check. And that is a really nice move there. Just putting a nice little fork on these pieces. After the king comes to h2, the queen takes on c4. And I think you can see that it is in this position that Alan Pichot does resign the game. And basically, like I said, I mean, not only are you down in exchange, you are down 3 entire pawns as well. So you're down, I mean, it's just, you know, the computer have a field day with this. I think pretty much anybody has the ability to win this position. So it is a really nice game by Wesley. So, and, you know, it's, you know, we're looking, Wesley So's looking pretty good. You know, he's in the top 5. He's definitely in the top 8 getting into this next round. So, I mean, everything is everything. But I will say that unfortunately there are no other Wesley So games to do after today, because 4 of the other games were those kind of repeat draw type situations. So I'm gonna, if I do end up doing another game today, it'll be another just kind of random game that I pick. So definitely, if you guys have any suggestions on a game, put it in the comments and I'll see about making that video if I get to it. If not, I'll probably be able to do it tomorrow. But for all of my other people in the Philippines, I'm going to try to do this in order. I'm working on getting everything in order. So I have Maayon Buntag. I have Mayad na Agahan. I have Ninebag na Bigat. Masantos Yakabosan. Marhe na Aga. Yes. Buenos dias. Maayong Aga. And then I have the one that I just learned, Mapia na Uma. And of course, the phrase that I just learned, Mabuting Pagbati. Appreciate you guys very much, and I will see you guys next time. All right.